Thank you, Bal. I'll try to be as long as Otiende Amolo.
I was speaking to the journalist also.
And because he's my friend, I may also seek to be keen or a friend of the people of Rarieda. Dibal, first thing I would want to say is that we might pose the risk in this discussion of portraying as though the rallies that are being held by the BBI team, even the politicians, as though they are bad, and that would be wrong in my view, because those rallies, if you remember the progression of the report until it arrived at Bomas, and the almost underlined cold reception, for that matter, or mixed reaction that it got from members of the public. It's because those times, that time it was largely seen as a boardroom document. And it was important, in my view, to have given it what you'd call public buy-in. And the best way to give it that buy-in of members of the public is to take it to the people via their representatives. That I think we would need to guard, so that when we discuss about it, it doesn't look like necessarily it's a bad thing. But I'll tell you what I think is starting to make it get a sour taste to a certain extent. In my view, if you look at the 9-point agenda, those were genuine issues, well condensed, that affect this country. And we all agree that they are issues that have to be addressed. For example, if you looked at what would largely be closer to a politician's contribution is the item on inclusivity. And remember, none other than the head of state, actually the deputy president, the former prime minister, have spoken about this passionately, that it is important for us to arrive at an arrangement, a formula, or a means that makes people feel that they belong, even at the end of the process of elections. I think that is a good thing, in my view. And that's why it is important, I would put it clearly, that indeed, as all agreed after the draft that was, after the report that was tabled in Bomas, that even if you called it a parliamentary system with the position of a prime minister as was proposed, it was not rejected by the people. It is still a fairly good idea if it is brought in good faith. I'll tell you what then, in my view, again, brings a bit of departure from that spirit. It's, for example, when you see the document arrives in Mombasa with that proposal, then you find some new other proposals like a 3-tier government on top of that document. Now that starts to divert the direction of the document. And if that continues to happen, then politicians then will upstage the intention. And of course, it is only a blind man who would say that even in the meeting there, that you would not notice that there are also political undertones. You would see that each side has hired a hitman, who is supposed to, during the address, be given enough time to fire a few shots here and there that are supposed to portray certain messages. And then it is retrieved back as though nothing has happened. And I believe that is where, if we let this now continue in the next 4, 5, 6 BBI rallies, it will now become fully blown. Secondly, Dibal, I believe also, as Jubilee, and I'm a member of Jubilee, I have to put this the way it is, that I think it is time for us to sit down and agree that we have to address our differences as the party. And because, we've been sitting on a hot plate for too long, and it's starting to burn our butts, in my view. It's starting to get uncomfortable, such that you find that we have you are forced to pretend for too long. You get what I mean? As though nothing is happening, but there are things happening. And so, other than have this Cold War, if you like, continue, whereby you have this team with Wamatang'i, another team, and speaking this language and saying we are saying, and then you have this team again and saying we are saying, and yet our party Jubilee has got 2 leaders who are not de facto, who are the leaders that we voted in and the leaders that we gave the mandate, that is the president and the deputy president. Those are the party leader and the deputy party leader. You know, I think eventually now as we move along, it's starting to make us not look good in the eyes of the people. When we seem like we are not in control of our party, it is important that now we get to sit down and agree what is ailing us, what is not ailing us, what do we need to fix, what don't we need to fix. And then that way we hope the country to move forward. Otherwise, issues are going to continue to emerge that requires the leadership of Jubilee. And you find, for example, I look at the time when we were voting in the Senate the other day on the issue of what system are we going to use to prosecute the issues of today. The impeachment hearing of the governor of Kiambu County. And of course it was all there. The proceedings were live. It was portrayed, and it was not good for the image of the party. That you find that you have this part of members speaking this way and being labeled tanga-tanga, and this one kieleweke on this. It is not good for our party. It is time to bite the bullet, in my view. It is time now to stand up and be counted. And I think I want to call upon our two leaders, the president and the deputy president, to ensure that this time I've seen you showed that on the headlines on the Star, that they held a 5-hour meeting. I think you portrayed that earlier.
Yes.
It is our wish that meeting and such meetings are going to be fruitful, finally, such that we are able to agree that this is the direction that this party is taking and we are taking as leaders. Because let it be known to all and sundry that still 3 years from today until 2022, the constitutional mandate that was given to leadership of this country was given to Jubilee and to those two leaders. So pretense cannot work anymore. It has got to be, yes, we are moving, or yes, we are not moving together. And I think that will help us to get somewhere. Lastly, let me say this, Deba, that finally to the conclusion of the BBI, we have to all be of one mind and one agreement, in my view, that this process must culminate in a document that we can hand over to Kenyans, or resolutions we can hand over to Kenyans to vote for. Vote for either by proxy of the elected leaders in parliament or in a referendum. Now, we cannot afford to hand over to Kenyans a contaminated document.
Thank you. Let's leave it at that.
Contaminated by either views of politicians, contaminated or also by intentions of politicians.
Right.
We have to give the Haji team the opportunity that they require to take this document through the motions it was intended in its last pages, because the initiative to take this document back to the people is indeed contained in the original BBI report.
Thank you. Let's leave it at that. Thank you.
We hand over
Thank you,
to another
Wamatang'i.
team to condense it into law.
Thank you.
And into chewable bites.
Jacob Midio.
So finally, let me say.
Finally, please. This finally is the meaning of them. Jacob.
With the tenor and temper that was intended from the word
Thank
go.
you. Thank you, Wamatang'i.
And lastly,
This man is debating from banana.
Otiende is taking notes. Thank you.
because I need the man. That when I say finally, and when I say lastly,
All right.
I'm
A student of Amalo.
my father was a Baptist. My mother an Anglican.
Jacob.
Well, you know, no wonder we are talking like we are going in circles.
Mm-hmm.
You heard Wamatang'i, I was looking at it, Wamatang'i has spoken for 9 minutes and said very little.
He's not spoken for 9
I was
minutes.
not speaking.
Yeah. Just continue with your statement.
Otiende did 13.
Let the audience make the judgment.
So I want to do only 3. You know, Deba, we must ask ourselves, how did we get to BBI? Wamatang'i says the constitutional mandate was given to Jubilee. Who gave them? This election, people even went back for a rerun, and the results are out there. Nobody even knows today how many votes. Even the server has never been opened So nobody knows who won the election. And hence, the goodwill by the president and the former prime minister to shake hands so we can move on. This has been an ongoing process. In fact, 20 years ago, we would not even be here talking the way we are talking. But we have made constant gains. In my own view, I think Kenya is in very good space because at least we are debating our future. I want to encourage my senator, my good friend Senator Cheriot, that if those things I'm calling parallel views or conditions are your views, take them to the Haji team. Just do them and take them, everybody. Like you're saying, I don't know why Otiende is running away from this thing about regional government. Because I am on record here to have opposed that idea of regional government. The first time Raila said it, but I support it now. Now that I've had to think about where the structural failures of devolution. For example, take this war in Coast Province, what we are calling Al-Shabaab. If Coast Province had remained the way we had proposed from Bomas, you will not have those things. They would have a center of power that does not does not have the core issues that people are not talking about. When you go to Malindi, and I spend a lot of time in Malindi, they will tell you this issue here is land related. And you know, because
Al-Shabaab.
Yes, I will explain to you. Now, why is it attractive to ODM members? And it should, and we should encourage Otiende to talk about it so people understand what you mean. If you go to Nyanza, the issue of Lake Victoria, there's nothing you can invest in Lake Victoria without a government. The current constitution limits governors as to where they can go without boundaries between Busia, between Siaya, between Homa Bay. You cannot have an investment plan around Lake Victoria. If you go to Western Kenya, the issue here largely is sugarcane farming and farming in general. Why must we invest in Kakamega and all these things without a forum where we can talk about those issues that can make us invest properly in our people? If you look at all the markets in this country where county councils and town councils were effective, including Nairobi, now the governors have been reduced to people sweeping markets. To the extent that a governor goes to open a toilet in a market and calls it development. These are issues. We need to elevate this debate to what will help us in the future. These are not new things. We don't even have to think about them. We can actually plug and play from Bomas. And I also want to say lastly, that this issue that BBI rally attendees are paid money, that's a very serious allegation. And I want to encourage, if DCI is listening, monies that are not budgeted for,
yes, that's what we'll come to.
It's just open and planned of public funds, if it is true. And I would want my friend here to point us towards that direction.
Thank you.